Ours is a time where everything seems to be irregular and distorted and impulse driven, particularly with the arrival of the internet and social media and psychologically curated methods of getting us to part with our money. The Holy Quran is the eternal guidance, a divine compass for our lives. Owning a well-crafted copy of the holy text makes it not just a possession, but an intimate connection to Allah's word. This Ramadan, we're honoured to bring back something truly special, the legacy Quran. The stunning large format Quran features the exquisite calligraphy of Hussein Kutlu, whose artistry adorns the walls of our mosque here in Cambridge. The legacy Quran was produced as a limited edition to mark the inauguration of Europe's first ever eco-mosque, and it's been a treasured symbol of faith, inspiration and community ever since. With only 55 copies remaining, this year is likely to be the final opportunity to own this timeless treasure. As an expression of our gratitude, we're gifting this extraordinary Quran to anyone who donates £2,500 or more. Your donations will help us in many ways, from covering essential costs to expanding our services for the local and global community. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. We've all heard the hadith that says, Sumu tasihhu, fast and be healthy. And we all know the benefits of intermittent fasting. In fact, in the wider world of wellness retreats, intermittent fasting has become definitely a thing, and you can look at it on the Bupa website and other websites, and it is known that fasting is definitely good for us. Why? Because human beings, for almost all of our history, were living hunter-gatherer lifestyles where meals were intermittent. One would kill a gazelle or something, and then the tribe would feed, and then they would be hungry for a while, and the body detoxes, and the body does not become fat or slothful or unhealthy. This is what we're designed for, and it seems to have positive mental health outcomes as well. And everybody who has fasted iman and wahtisaba, with faith and with reckoning, knows that at the end of Ramadan one feels well. One has shed a few kilos perhaps, most obviously, but there's just a more general profound sense of well-being. But there's other things that Ramadan offers to us, which are kind of health related, which are not so much to do with the metabolic impact of intermittent fasting, but are really to do with impulse control. Because Ramadan, the Muslim fast, is really the ultimate cold turkey. It's not a diet, but it's certainly a radical upending of our normal bad habits. And it requires impulse control. As-sawmu nisfu sabr. Fasting is half of patience. Restraint, and we learn during Ramadan that actually, however pessimistic we might be about our self-control at other times of the year, we can absolutely say no to most of the comfort foods and the other things that we were grazing on for the rest of the year. It's a very optimistic time because we learn something about our capacity to say no and to restrain ourselves. But ours is a time where everything seems to be irregular and distorted and impulse driven, particularly with the arrival of the internet and social media and psychologically curated methods of getting us to part with our money. Key to the teams that design mobile phones and apps are psychologists, and those who are most sought out are those who have worked in the gambling industry. Gambling, obviously, is something that religion saves us from anyway. Gambling was a practice of the pagan Arabs, and it's not really Ramadan related, but alhamdulillah, Ramadan, the religion saves us from so many horrors. And the secular world is trying to cope with these horrors, but not really very well. The government requires or advises gambling companies to place on their products, please gamble responsibly, as if such a thing was possible. It isn't possible, because a recent report by the Gambling Commission shows that without problem gamblers, the gambling companies wouldn't turn a profit at all. They actually make money from the people who are addicted to gambling. So impulse control really is the key to human happiness. Being aware of how to control one's 7 deadly sins, illicit desires, laziness, pride. Rising above those makes us eligible to be adorned with their alternatives, which are found in the 99 names. Allah is generous, we should be generous. Allah is merciful, we should be merciful. Allah is forgiving, we should be forgiving, and so forth. The opposite of those names, the 7 names, which are really the names of the devil. So we live in a time that some are calling limbic capitalism. That is to say that the limbic system in the brain is mobilized very brilliantly by the new technologies. So we have something in our pocket that buzzes and flashes to hold our attention, and they know exactly what that does to the brain, triggering a dopamine reaction, the pleasure circuit. So we want more. Scroll and scroll and scroll, and the ads are paying for the thing, and we're making money for some faceless corporation somewhere just by looking at whatever it is we look at. Mobile phones are optimized for addiction, something that is well known. So this leads us to so many other problems. If modernity is making money out of our lack of impulse control, the consequences for so many human beings is absolutely catastrophic. Eating, for instance, and here Ramadan really does help, because we know that we can actually leave the fridge closed and the kettle switched off for long hours during the day. It's an enormously vital, optimistic, hopeful lesson that we learn. But obesity continues to be a problem. A third of UK adults suffer from clinically significant forms of obesity. In the United States, it's even worse, because people make money out of selling us garbage, junk food in particular, which suddenly triggers the dopamine circuits, and it's moreish, and we want more and more of it. More and more fries, more and more corn syrup, more and more again. But they don't put please gamble responsibly on the box of fried chicken. It is a gamble, of course. You're gambling with your health. You don't really know what the consequence of giving way to this impulse is going to be when you get a little bit older. But there are consequences for every part of the metabolism, from the teeth to the brain to dementia onset to the liver to the kidney to the heart. It's all diet related. So during Ramadan, we are given a serious opportunity, the best time that we have in our lives really, to think about controlling these impulses and to be realistic about ourselves and to think about what habits we really ought to kick. Kicking very graphically, kind of punish them, kick them. Nicotine vapes, for instance, also will break the fast. Cigarettes obviously break the fast. And sometimes we need to think about the basis of the Muslim economy in some parts of the country, where you go into the Kashmiri food mart and there is a wall full of nicotine vapes in attractive colours that young people, cotton candy flavoured nicotine vapes and so forth. There is a brewery section, of course. There is probably still a rack of questionable magazines. There are the cigarettes, something that I hope our community can wean itself from, because fasting in Ramadan is the exact opposite of what we're doing to the general public without that kind of thing. So Ramadan is a kind of intensified version of the lesson that Islam teaches us anyway. And so many of the things, alcohol, prohibited outright, alhamdulillah, rijsun min amal shaitan, an impurity from the devil's work. And the World Health Organization report a few months ago on alcohol has now recognized that the safe level of drinking is 0 units. The newspapers didn't like that too much because journalists are notorious ones for trebles all round in the pub and in their lunch breaks. But yeah, 0. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is protecting us and protecting us and protecting us. Take a look at true crime videos on the internet. Almost all of it is alcohol related. Stupid knife crime, alcohol, fights, domestic violence. It's almost invariably associated with alcohol, much more than it is with other narcotics. It's alcohol, it's alcohol, it's alcohol. Alhamdulillah ala ni'matil Islam. God be praised for the blessing of Islam that we've just been saved from that. There's no good in it. The World Health Organization has now said 0 units. And they're just talking about the effect that it has on your body, the effect it has on safety of women travelling on their own on London buses at 11 o'clock at night. They're not thinking about that. But yeah, go to A&E in any British hospital on a Saturday night and you can see the stupidity of the alcohol custom. So alhamdulillah, we find that our religion is there really to make things easier for us. And the ambient culture in the modern West says, no, following desires makes life easier. We would say, no, religion makes us easier. The Holy Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, one of his names is Al-Muyassir. Innama bu'ithtu mu'allima wa muyassira. I'm sent only as a teacher and as a facilitator. And he says to us, yassiru wa la tu'assiru, make things easier, don't make things harder. Some of our zealous brothers don't really accept that commandment and are looking for any fatwa that looks particularly severe and strict because of their mistaken, dangerous idea that makes it more authentic. ما خير رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بين أمرين إلا واختار أيسرهما ما لم يكن فيه إثم. The Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was never given the choice between 2 things, but that he chose the easier, as long as there was no sin in it. This is very fundamental to the ethos of Islam, and everything in the religion should be seen as a facilitation, something that makes our lives easier. The prayer, if honorably and punctually discharged, will make the rest of our lives so much more beautiful as our souls decompress for those precious minutes. The zakat purifies our wealth and gives us all kinds of unexpected blessings and even helps our wealth to multiply. The prohibitions, the purity laws, the beginning every day with purity, all of this is simply in our interest. And I think that this aspect of Islam, ni'matul Islam, alhamdulillahi ala ni'matul Islam, praise be to God for the blessing of Islam, needs to be emphasized more. In an age where everybody's looking for ease and happiness, and we're not really presenting our religion as the path of ease and happiness, but rather as a kind of identity that imposes lots of duties. That's a big mistake. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through taklif, is actually ennobling us. He's made us to be noble beings. Karramna bani Adam, he says in the Quran, we've ennobled the descendants of Adam. But he wants us to live up to that nobility. And you can only live up to that through impulse control, through saying no, holding the hand back, lowering the gaze, not listening to obscenity, keeping your heart pure. And then you'll see how your body and your mind and your soul are intended to function. And then you'll find that people respect you and people love you. People don't respect the indulgent. People respect those who are willing to make sacrifices and who are disciplined and in control of themselves. And this is the deepest sense of the taysir, the facilitation that the Holy Prophet ﷺ is offering us. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us learn from Ramadan this year, and to make us people whose willpower is strengthened by the lessons and the experience of the fast, so that at other times of the year we may remember our capacity to say no, and with Allah's help and His guidance and His nusra, inshallah, we will be people who look only at that which He has authorized us to look at, hear only that which it is good for us to hear, go only to the places which it is good for us to go to, and experience, therefore, the joy of a sober and remembering and beautiful and grace-filled life, which is what the Sunnah of the Chosen One, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is offering us. A beautiful lifestyle, a godly lifestyle, but also, when faithfully practiced, the way of ease, facilitation, calm and happiness. May Allah grant us that, and grant it to the whole ummah, and accept our fasting and our families' fasting, and the fasting of the people in our masajid, and the fasting of the whole ummah of Islam, and the whole world, inshallah, that is directed towards the Qibla that the Chosen One, alayhi salatu wasalam, directed us towards. May Allah bring this about and bring us safely, inshallah, to the next Ramadan and to many Ramadans thereafter, with His acceptance, with His guidance and with His forgiveness. Barakallahu fikum, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.